You. That's right. You. You probably have something to say about politics. I know you got a webcam. Well, video is the way of the present. Send us a video. thepoliticalbouillon@gmail.com. Now, I'm here with two people who have quite a lot to say about the MUNACA strike. In one corner, we have John-Erik Hansson, and he is a member of the McGill Mob Squad committed to combating inequality here on campus and abroad. In the other corner, we've got David Lynn. Now, he wrote an article in the Bull and Bear criticizing the MUNACA strike. He thinks that they are maximizing their collateral damage to students. So, what's the deal? John, why do you not support MUNACA?
Well, okay. One of the big issues to me is control, and I think that right now the administration is claiming control over the people at MUNACA and over the university, generally speaking, and I don't think that's legitimate. And I don't think that bad management decisions should fall down and be basically, that I don't think that the workers who are the least paid of the university should pay for bad management decisions.
All right, David, why do you disagree?
Or Joe, if you could just define control, maybe you'll have more understanding of what your point of view is. Why do you think McGill is in control over the union? In some sense of the word, I think they are in control, but I'd like to hear what you think first.
Well, if you take the issue of the pension plan, which is the one of the hot issues on the agenda, what McGill claims is that MUNACA is trying to get control, a veto power over the pension plan for all of the university, which I don't think is true. Maybe that's their wish that they maybe kind of put in their proposal, waiting for a counter-proposal on McGill. But right now, who has the control over the pension plan is the administration. The administration, to me, is trying to control and not monitor, but to have a substantial power over the lives of the MUNACA workers.
Okay. Well, in a sense, McGill is the employer of MUNACA, and the labor union's role is to bargain on behalf of the workers' rights and labor opportunities. In the long run, though, the employer is the one that decides what benefits and what wages the workers are to accept. Of course, the job of the union, as I said, is to bargain on the workers' on behalf to maximize their utility. So in a sense, the ultimate control lies with the administration, but the workers' control, the union's control, is regimented in the sense that they speak on behalf of the workers to present their best interests. And if something is done by the administration that the union disapproves of, it's their responsibility to point that out and to rectify that through negotiations. Again, the ultimate control, I believe, is vested on the administration.
David, I want to get your reaction to a specific incident. The administration wants to bring disciplinary action against two students, SMU Senator Michael Stedden and SMU VP External Joel Pedneau. They cite a demonstration at the Y intersection. Joel Pedneau was not even there. Could you support this, or do you think this shows that the administration is really taking actions that are inappropriate?
Not informed of this issue. Can you explain the background a little bit?
Well, maybe John, do you want to speak to this?
Sure. So what happened is that there were quite a few teachings you probably noticed on campus at the Y intersection that were held by the Mob Squad, by the McGill Faculty Labor Action Group. Following one that happened on the 11th of October, Joel this will be VP External, and Micha, who's a member of the Mob Squad and also an arts rep to SMU, got a letter from the administration calling them on a hearing for violating two articles of the Student Handbook of Rights, sections 5 and 6, the Student Code of Conduct, sorry. Section 5 and 6, so it's disruption and trespassing.
Okay.
And right now they have reviewed the evidence, and day after tomorrow, actually Friday, the Associate Dean of Arts is going to decide whether or not the university is going to press charges on them. They risk up to non-academic probation, which means that it will severely limit their ability to act on campus, and they will they will risk expulsion if they're charged and convicted again. Issue is that day, what the administration claims is that they've that the demonstrators were preventing traffic from going through, so they're preventing cars from crossing the wide intersection, which is true to the extent that we had needed about 30 seconds to get up and get the way ready for a car to come through. And then there's Joel, who is charged for something that he wasn't there for.
So he wasn't there.
So let's just get David. Let's get your reaction to that.
He didn't participate. He was at this new executive committee.
Okay.
Has the administration gone too far, David?
Well, I'm actually, my initial reaction is I am sort of surprised that the administration would press charges on a student-led protest. Students aren't directly affiliated with MUNACA, and it is ultimately MUNACA and its affiliated unions who are pressed for the injunction, not students. So initially I am surprised that if they were just protesting peacefully, they would be held accountable. However, if they did violate the Student Code of Conduct, I wasn't there at the event, but if they did, then that's another issue altogether.
Do you think, David, the bulk of your argument is against MUNACA's tactics and strategy, but what about the demand itself? Aren't they really just asking for the same compensation as other universities? Can you support that demand?
Well, we'd have to really compare those other compensation schemes of other universities. I don't believe that MUNACA is being paid in terms of lower salaries. I think the issue here is that they're upset that it takes 37 years to progress to the maximum salary level.
And that's a long time.
That is a long time, but then one has to argue, let's just do the math. 37 years, if you translate that to what they're asking for now, which is a shortening of only 6 years, that translates to a 9% increase in wages year on year, which is higher than the average Canadian pay rate of only 2%. And furthermore, one has to ask a broader question, which is, why must union workers aim to achieve a maximum salary level as opposed to just a year-on-year increase indefinitely that would match inflation, maybe even just a bit more, just to maintain their living standards? Why must the issue be brought around capping that maximum level if that entails a 9% increase, which economically I think you could all agree is just not feasible for either party?
We have to wrap up around here, but there's one more issue I want to touch on. So, John, I'm going to give you the last word. McGill has a lot of debt. $6 million operating deficit for the year, around $90 to $200+ million of debt overall. We want McGill to lower tuition. We want them to increase quality. How can you also expect them to see MUNACA's demands? How can they do it all with so much debt? Speak to that issue.
Well, okay, to me that's a big question of priorities, and I do think that it's possible, at least to some extent. First thing, for the MUNACA pay increases, it's obvious that they're not going to get that the kind of increase that they're asking for, again, that's an offer they're putting on the table, and they're waiting on McGill to make a counteroffer at the bargaining table, which McGill has yet to do, which is an enormous problem for MUNACA, because that means that they have a hard time actually bargaining at the table. Lowering tuition, or not increasing tuition at least, is also something that's a question of priorities, and that's also a question of priorities at the government level. It's not. I think that it's legitimate for students to be paying more out of their own pocket or out of the pockets of their parents, but I think that in the end, it's the society that's going to be empowered by those students with a degree that should be paying for the for that education. So I think it boils down to government increasing taxes, at least to some level. Corporate taxes are one possibility. I think David would disagree because of ideological reasons, which, you know, makes sense to some extent. How do I think the university should change or manage to decrease its working deficit? I think that right now the university, generally speaking, is top administration heavy, and I'm not sure how much of that top administration salary is actually justified, and how much could be redistributed within the system. There's been talks about what kind of wages the Political Bouillon, the principal, gets. The figures I've had in my hands, where her total salary would be about $585,000 per year, benefits included. $350 benefits excluded, if I remember correctly. That's a lot of money if you compare to the average maximum wage for a MUNACA worker, which is $50,000 a year, which is not that much altogether. I think there's money in the university. I think that there's a lot of money lying around, maybe not being used in the most efficient fashion. SMU has a research committee on that. They are actually supposed to come out with results relatively soon. And I don't think that reducing the deficit should imply getting more money out of people who can't really afford it.
Right, well, that is the last word for now. I want to thank both John and David. It was a pleasure speaking to both of you. And again, if anybody has anything to say about this issue or any other political topic, send us a video. thepoliticalbouillon@gmail.com.